Today our guest is Curtis Riskey.
Recent Supreme Court ruling on marriage. It's going to have ramifications, certainly for Christian businesses, potentially.
Share the gospel clear and strong. Stand for, claim your heritage of truth.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today our guest is Curtis Riskey. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Now you are the president of the Christian Booksellers Association.
That is correct.
Now why don't you tell everybody what that is?
Well, the Christian Booksellers Association is a trade association that represents all the Christian product industry. So we have retailers as part of the distribution channel of Christian products, as well as then publishers, music companies, gift companies, film companies, basically anybody who produces then Christian products in this industry.
Okay.
Our members.
Well, with the ebook revolution and all that kind of thing, how has that affected the Christian publishing industry?
Well, it changed it initially, and certainly in fiction you've seen big changes because fiction readers predominantly will read ebooks and they're heavy readers, so that changed quite a bit. But since that time, actually now ebooks are on the decline, and I think physical is here to stay.
Good.
It'll still be people wanting different types of products and purchasing products physically and digitally, but I think the days of the entire physical industry going away completely are probably not accurate.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear because we always try to support Christian bookstores.
Yeah.
So, but we don't have one in our town anymore,
Okay.
which is very sad. The other day, we heard Craig Parshall.
Right.
He led a panel about some of the changes that are happening in our culture
Yeah.
and in our laws, and how they might affect small businesses like Christian bookstores.
Sure.
Can you speak a little bit to that?
Well, it's such a big issue too. The good news that came out of that discussion, and of course we're speaking about the recent Supreme Court ruling on marriage. It's going to have ramifications, certainly for Christian businesses potentially going forward. And so our role was really to help stores and Christian businesses understand what's occurred, how do you help to navigate these new waters, and those types of things. So our role is in education. The good news, though, that I heard out of that panel that spoke was that there's still hope, and the fact that if this decision would have been made 2 years ago, when the two sides were really clashing much more strongly, it may have been a lot worse. Today, we take some hope in some of the last sentences that Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote that sort of opened the door to say that religious liberty is still very strong, and the First Amendment of the Constitution, the reason why religious liberty is the First Amendment in the Constitution is also because it's the strongest.
That's right.
And so I think we can take some hope in that. Not to say that there won't be challenges ahead, there will be. But I think, again, our role in helping our members understand what's at stake, how to help them navigate these waters, is our role.
Where do you see Christian publishing going in the next few years?
Well, it's changing too, and the consideration is too, people are reading more today than ever, and partly because of your phone and your tablet or your computer and all those things. So people are reading more, but the concern is, are they reading long form, which would be novels, books, those types of products. And so that to me is the concern, is and I think long form is really important too, to even how you grow and how you grow as a person, because you can take an idea and learn all the facets of the idea and make it either part of the fabric of your belief or not. Without long form, all we're doing is reading little snippets, and that's concerning to me because culturally you don't really grow as much in terms of headlines and snippets.
And sound bites.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you have a little sound bite, and that's not really giving you the argument that that made the person come to the conclusion that they have in the soundbite
Sure.
or in the little snippet.
So in the publishing industry,
Yeah.
they're really trying to create new ways to reach even a new consumer
Mhm.
who's looking at how I want to read the book, but I also want maybe statistics on the side, or there's other things that I want to pull out. And that's where the technology can work for us.
Mhm.
The ability maybe to pull something out virtually in 3D. I was encouraged by the Hobby Lobby group and part of the Museum of the Bible,
Mhm.
where they've created a curriculum of the Bible. And that curriculum now is actually in Israeli public schools,
Wow.
of all places. And what's interesting about the curriculum itself is that you have the printed page, but when you hold an iPad over utilizing QR codes and things like that, they can bring out different things and different aspects of what you're learning through Scripture, but by
fun is
showing you the
that?
place and showing you, and it comes right out into your iPad or tablet in a 3D form, and that's fascinating to me.
That is. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think our goal and their goal is really, could this be a product then for Christian schools in America?
Yeah, I think it could. Is there any thing else that people need to know about the Christian industry of marketing industry, ways that we can support it, or because most of the time people go for where the lowest price is.
Sure. I never want to tell a customer, where to go. Obviously, I believe that Christian retail is there to support them in many ways that most stores cannot.
Right.
If you're dealing with a life issue, if you're dealing with a certain need in a particular time, our stores are great for that, because there are real live human beings who care about you, who are also within God's grace and want to extend that to you and maybe even pray for you in the store. So those are some things that most places cannot do. But one of the things that I want people to know about CBA in specific is that we're about getting the gospel into people's hands around the world. And our goal is really twofold: to see Jesus Christ lifted high and made known, and to see him glorified. And so with that as our context and that as our mission, we want to then help equip stores to meet the needs of customers. And so the only thing I'd say to customers is, these folks are out here, and we'd love for you to shop at their stores and frequent their places of business, because we all share the common mission and the same goals. And so my question would be, does Amazon share those same goals? And probably not.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I've thought of too, if the Christian bookstores are not supported and all we have left are the secular outlets, either online or the bookstores, then they're going to start wanting to change what our message is.
Sure.
And if we're going to be able to freely preach the gospel in what we write and the other products that we have, then we've got to support those Christian bookstores. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes in a lot of communities, they don't realize that until it's too late. And then there's a hole or there's a gap, and they feel like we've really lost something. And I can tell you, in my own journey, I owned a store, and when I became president, I had the store that was 1,000 miles away from where I was. And I had to really focus my time and my effort on CBA to the detriment of my own store. And so we made a business decision to close it. But I'll tell you this, first of all, those were the 2 hardest weeks of my life. Having to go back, actually after an event like this, and then go back and close a store. And I still remember one specific conversation that I had with a woman there. My wife and I were talking with her, and she came up to us in tears that we were closing. And it was just a sad time. But she said to me, your store saved my marriage. And I said, well, I don't mean to be critical here or, refute what you're saying, but I also want to better understand what you're saying. How does a brick and mortar place save your marriage? And she then told me that her and her husband were not communicating very well. It was a difficult time in their marriage, but that they would come into our store because her husband felt like it was a safe place. He wouldn't go to church with her, but they would come into our store and they would frequent our cafe, and they went through a marriage devotional together or a marriage book together.
Wow.
And she says that time and having that place saved her marriage. She then went on to say that she was then also reconciled with her oldest daughter at our store. So these kinds of stories are not uncommon in Christian retail. These kinds of things happen over and over and every day of the week in Christian retail. That's the difference. We have people who care about you, and the Spirit of God is in that place. So I still put my trust in God that He's not surprised by any of the changes and the challenges that we see, even in law and all the things that we're dealing with. But at the same time, I would ask that, if you're a believer and you do have a store in your town, that help them make it better by going.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. Where can people find out more about CBA if they want to research it?
Our website is cbaonline.org. And you can find out information about stores. You can find a store near you. We have a store locator, so you can click on a state or type in a zip code, and we can give you a list of stores nearby your area. And if you have an interest in the International Christian Retail Show, there's always links for that as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Curtis.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Share the gospel.